Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Rant World with me, Notorious BLT. So, something that came up recently, as I was gaming with some friends, it came up recently in my mind, not like actually came up as in part of a discussion with my friends and I. But one of my friends really likes, actually a couple of my friends really like spicy food. And that's fine, you can like spicy food. I'm also a fan of spicy food. But I think that there are some folks in the world that for whatever reason, they claim to like spicy food because they think that it makes them seem, I don't know, more manly or more mature. I'm not sure what it is. But I'm not sure why that's a thing. Like, why does pain tolerance make you more masculine? That doesn't make any sense to me, because honestly, if you were going to try to impress people with your pain tolerance, you'd all be women having kids. Because childbirth is supposed to be one of the most painful things on earth. But I don't get the ramp up for some folks, where it's like you can tell that they're actually really not enjoying themselves, but they're eating this super spicy stuff anyway. It doesn't make sense to me. Like people that order or like when you see restaurants that have like nuclear chicken wings or something, and it's like, but there's no point. Like, you can't taste anything. And if you can, please, explain to me how this is a thing, because I don't get it. How can you actually taste this stuff? It doesn't taste like anything to me. It just tastes like, spicy nothing. I think that's one of the biggest problems with, like, extremely spicy foods, is that there are a lot of folks that they like the spicy food, or they say they like the spicy food, but then if you taste it, like, there's nothing to it. It's just like, okay, well, I can't taste anything because the capsaicin is just, like, eating away at my tongue. I don't understand. Like, there's a spicy dish, and probably one of the best spicy dishes I've ever had. Is this wow. My mouth and brain are just not communicating today about what it is that I'm trying to say. There is this dish at an Indian restaurant nearby called Chicken 65. That is probably my favorite spicy dish that I've ever had, but that's because not only is it super spicy, like, I could do with it being a little less spicy, but it's also really, really tasty. Like, it just tastes absolutely fantastic. But it burns like, like the devil. It burns like the devil has lit a fire in your face. But it is just so freaking delicious. But, like, with this guy that my dad used to work with long, long ago, had this bottle of hot sauce that, I swear to God, the way that he describes it, it sounds like it's just pure capsaicin. So the way that my dad describes it is that he could smell this stuff. Like, he could actually smell the heat from a cubicle over when he used to work in Illinois at United Airlines. I think it was it United? I think and keep in mind, this is a long time ago, and he worked as a programmer, okay? This wasn't some recent thing, so it's not like I'm advocating United Airlines after they did the whole beating up people thing, but I don't think anybody really would. But anyway, but I hear that, and I'm like, what? Just why, though? And my dad tries some and is like, why would you ever eat this? This doesn't make sense. It's just, and of course, he asked the guy, he's like, how can you bother even eating this? He's like, oh yeah, you just get used to it after a while. Like, why would you want to get used to not tasting anything? Or can you taste things now that you've gotten used to it? Like, but what was the purpose of this? Like, what purpose did this exercise serve? And the reason this kind of all came up in my brain was that one of my friends brought some spicy chips. They were just a little bit too spicy for me, but I mean, to be fair, I had some Turkish food the night previous, and so my tongue and my stomach were like, hey, can you just like cool it down on the spicy stuff? That'd be great. Not that they were super overly spicy for me, but they were just a little bit too much at the time. Who knows, maybe I'm wrong and they were just being too much all the time. I have no idea. But and I'm not trying to say that my buddy 2.0 is like trying to be all impressive by eating spicy things. You just enjoy spicy things. Like, most of my friends, I don't think have ever really been of the mindset that, like, you know, they have to eat spicy things to show how manly they are, because that's just, it's such a ridiculous thing. Like, it's one of those things that I don't understand at all. Like, doing foolish things to prove your manliness. Like, God, one of the things that I heard some time ago was, oh, if you don't like sausage, then, you know, we're taking away your man card. Like, first off, there's no such thing as a man card, and that's just the stupid thing to say. But also, like, why does my like or dislike of specific foods make me a man? And what is your definition of a man? Because right now it sounds like a man is just whatever foolish definition you come up with, which is something along the lines of you have to like phallic things, and also you have to like spicy stuff, which I'm like, okay, but, you know, that has no worth to me. You know, like, my definition of, how can I put it? I guess my definition of what it takes to be a man, really just like a decent human being in general, is not being a jerk, I guess. And, you know, like, I guess it comes down to, what do you consider worthwhile to do or to obtain, or like, what is actually worth it to you, or more worth it to you? Is being able to brag about eating spicy things worth it to you, or is, you know, being able to figure out solutions to a problem and, you know, being logical and actually trying to find solutions to problems actually what you might define as, you know, manliness or whatever? Like, you know, what has more value to you, I guess, is the real crux of the question here. So, oh man, what's a good example here? So like, the term that I hear a lot is alpha males, and it's one of those things that, it's a term that bothers me, because it makes it sound like we have a pack mentality, and we're not one of the many animals on this planet that does. Although I suppose you could argue that in some ways we do. I don't really know, but in any case, when people refer to like the tough guy, you know, the guy who's like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, bench press a bazillion pounds and then like go neg on some girl to, if you don't know what negging is, it's a stupid garbage practice where you try to say mean things to a person to try to get them to like you more, which is just, maybe it works on some people. I have no idea. I've never tried it because I think it's a scummy thing to do, but it's stupid. But, you know, and like, referring to people like that as alpha males, I'm just like, why? It's like, you're just talking about a scumbag. You're just talking about a jerk. And not that lifting weights makes you a jerk. I'm just talking about like a specific mentality here, where it's like, you know, all that matters is getting buff and like, you know, being a jerk to people, I guess. You know, without actually having the ability to think about things really, like, you know, ruled entirely by your emotions, I guess. Is how I would describe one of these people. Because, like, and I've known people like this that get mad about everything and, like, try to kind of impose their will via threats of violence, which is just such a garbagey thing to do. Such a garbagey thing to do. But, like, why is that the definition of manliness? Like, and I see it a lot in some of the communities near where I live, where there's this idea that, like, if you're gonna be a man, you have to be like into cars, and you have to you know, monogamy is considered to not be virtuous, and well, maybe not virtuous, but like, it's not considered to be good. Like, being good, or like being a man, I guess, is more along the lines of like, how many partners have you had intimate relationships with? And actually, not even relationships, more like intimate relations with. And it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I would think that you would want to consider somebody like, well, I don't know exactly what this guy's personality is like exactly, but somebody more along the lines of like Elon Musk. And what I mean by that is somebody who is very intelligent and is using some of their wealth for a good purpose. Not that you have to use your wealth for a good purpose, but like somebody that is actually trying to do good in the world. Like, why is that less good than, you know, like doing the horizontal polka with lots of partners and then also liking vehicles that make a lot of noise? I don't understand. Like, why do these two what is the disconnect here? And I know that there's this that this kind of goes along with a logical fallacy called the no true Scotsman, which is you know, if you do a particular thing and then, you know, somebody says, and you're a Scotsman, and somebody says, oh well, no true Scotsman would do that. Well, why? You know, it's your argument is ridiculous. You're just saying that you're saying that this person should not do that if they want to be a true Scotsman. Like, well, what makes you the authority on being a Scotsman? Like, you know, it's kind of in the same vein as this. Like, what makes you the authority on being a man? And what makes me the authority on being a man? Like, what does it even mean? And does it even have any value? I don't know. I don't think so. Like, I think there's more value in just trying to be a decent person. Not necessarily that you have to, like, go out and do tons of crazy stuff with your life or whatever, but, like, even just trying to be a good person, I think, has value and merit. Even if you don't always succeed, like, I think the attempt is at least worthwhile. And I know I've said stuff like this, like, so many freaking times, but I can't... I feel like it needs to be said. Because there's a lot of these ideas, and I don't know where they come from. I don't know if they're learned from parents or, you know, any kind of like a figure in authority, or, you know, authority figure. That's the phrase I'm looking for. But I just don't understand where some of these mentalities came from. It's kind of along the lines of, like, you know, oh well, if you're a heterosexual female, why is there this stigma that, like, what you do in life is now, and it used to be different, but now it's graduate high school, go to college, get a job, get married, get a house, have kids. Why is that the standard? I had a brief email conversation about this with a friend of mine who lives on the other side of the country, because it seemed to me at some points that what was happening was that she was allowing some of her friends to dictate how she was trying to live her life. And it made me uncomfortable because I very much care for this person, and I didn't want her to fall into the same trap that I've seen so many other people fall into, where, like, one of her friends who has been married 3 times in the span of, like, 6 years, which is like, why? You know, and has kids, like a ton of kids, and I'm just like, but do you want this? Is this actually what you want, or are you just doing what you think is expected of you? I don't understand. But so I had the conversation with her over email, and I was like, you know, it bothers me when people do things apparently because they just think that that's, like, what you do, or, like, what you're supposed to do. Like, who determines that? Why is that what you have to do? Like, why not just do what makes you actually happy? That, I think, has more merit than just doing what is expected, or what, you know, people, what has been, how can I put it? What has been expected of you? You know, what is generally considered to be what happens in life, or what is generally considered to be what you should do in life. Just gotta wet the old whistle there for a second. You know, like, girlfriend and I, we don't want to have kids. We just... It's not that we hate kids. I don't hate kids. You know, I know she doesn't either. But, and you know, and not to say that we're both like, oh, we love kids, but, like, you know, kids are fine. I'm not gonna be, like, a jerk about it or anything. You know what I'm saying? But it's just not for us. You know, and we're not in places in our lives that we think that having kids would even be a good idea. And, you know, even though my mom would love for us to have kids, and a lot of our relatives would love for us to have kids, we're just, you know, for us, it's not what we want. And so why would we go and start having kids if, that's not really what we want to do? Like, that's not fair to the kids, for one, or that wouldn't be fair to the kids, for one. Like, it's like, what happens if halfway through that you realize, man, I just really didn't want to have kids? And I know that there's this biological impulse, and honestly, even if we did realize halfway through, neither of us would be, like, resentful towards our children or anything, because that to me is just, that's not who we are. We try to be very caring people, even if, well, I'm gonna get slightly off of this, because this is just going down a rabbit hole that I have no desire to go down. But as evidence of our there's no word that I can pick that sounds good, but that we have nothing against children or whatever is our friends Rig and Lucky. They have a kid who, by the way, has my middle name as his first name, which I am absolutely a huge fan of. And I basically consider this child to be my nephew, even though we're not related by blood. And Rig and Lucky, if you're listening to this, you can't stop me. He's my nephew. That's it. That's all there is to it. You can't say no. It's done. I have claimed it on YouTube, and thus it is true. But I have a really, I have a very strong emotional attachment to this kid. He's a really sweet kid too. Like, oh man, we went to visit them. I don't think this was, no, this wasn't, wait, was it? It might have been for New Year's Eve, maybe. Or maybe it was some other time. I don't recall. But, like, he was just starting to learn how to read. Or rather, maybe not learning how to read, but he's just, like, he's very interested in hearing people talk and read to him. And so he brought me this book. I forget what it was called. But so I read it through to him once going forward. And he's so adorable, this kid. Like, when I asked him if he wanted me to read him the book, he was like, yeah, was one of his favorite words. Just loved to say it. But, so then he's like, again. And I'm like, well, okay, well, if I'm going to do it again, I'm going to go backwards. Okay. And he was like, yeah. And so I started reading the story to him backwards, and he looks back at me like, what? But he was totally into it. It was really cool. But, like, he's a very sweet kid. And like I said, Rig and Lucky, he's my nephew. You can't stop it. It's done. It's done. It's on the internet, and therefore it's true. Another one of our friends has a daughter. She is also very cute. Very, very cute. I want to say she's 3 now. Yeah, I think she's 3. I think. Anyway, the age doesn't necessarily matter, but she's a very cute kid. And, like, I didn't realize exactly how fast children grow up. It's mind-boggling. Like, these children that I'm like, oh yeah, they're still toddlers. No, they're really not. Like, and I'm not a good judge of this stuff. I don't really know how large these children are supposed to be, or like what the average, advancement in terms of problem solving and intelligence and stuff is supposed to be, or like how fast they learn words and stuff. I don't know any of that stuff. These are, I don't want to say they're foreign concepts to me, but they're not, not exactly my forte. I've never had a kid, so I don't really know. I've never really babysat either, because I've never really, I don't want to say I've had bad interactions with children, because that's not the case. It's more that, like, I don't fully get interactions with kids, I guess. Like, the super small kids, I'm like, sure, I kind of get it. They're ridiculous, they just want to have fun, I'm totally about that. But, like, the slightly older kids, like maybe 6, 7, 8, I think those are the ones that just, for whatever reason, my brain can't wrap itself around interactions with them, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I think part of it is just, like, I want them to be happy, and the second they get sad, I'm like, I failed, I don't know what I did, but I've clearly done something wrong, and I don't know how to fix it. And maybe there's cases where I shouldn't immediately try to fix it. I don't know. But, like, children are just this strange oddity to me, and I just don't know how to handle them. But, in any case, back to our original topic of, things that, like, why we put emphasis on things that really, to me, just seem to not have any merit whatsoever. I think part of me thinks that it's like, like in our caveman brain to do this stuff. You know, because way back when people would choose when people would choose mates, it was based on like, well, okay, what are you going to do for me? Like, what thing can you do that benefits me and will allow me to spread my progeny? You know, to have more progeny and spread my genes. Now, I'd like to think that we've kind of gone past that and can think more along the lines of, you know, what is more of a match for me and my personality, rather than, and not even that, like, it's not even so much predicated on, or dependent on what, on what somebody can give you as a mate. It's more about, at least to me, it's more about what do you actually want, without letting anybody determine anything for you. Because I think that's a trap that a lot of people fall into. And I'm not trying to sound like I know everything, or that I have like some great idea of what life should be, because I don't. But why let somebody else determine what you truly want? Like, why not just think about what really makes you happy? And if what makes you happy is making other people happy, then okay, like, who am I to tell you that you're wrong? But it just seems to me that a lot of folks don't approach things necessarily in that particular manner, I guess. It's more that, like, I remember when I was much younger, and I think this is still a thing, I don't really know, but there was, for straight men, there was a thing with blonde girls and blonde women being, like, the most attractive, like, the most desirable women in terms of their physical outlook, or their physical looks. I never felt that way. Like, in terms of physical attractiveness, I always had a slightly different idea about it. Like, for example, this, like, super skinny thing that people used to be all about, and I think are still about, I've never found that especially attractive, honestly. I'm not saying that, like, I want somebody as big as a house, because I'd like for my partner to be healthy. You know, I don't want them to be having health problems, when, you know, later in life, you know, that kind of thing. But, like, why let somebody else determine what you want, I guess? You know, like, for example, for me, I don't want to say, in, like, as a general term, like, I like redheads. I do like red hair. I don't know what it is, but I don't want to say that it's like, oh, if you have red hair, then I'm immediately attracted to you, because that's ridiculous. But, like, I like the color, I guess. I don't know. But this is getting a little. This is getting to be a little too much. I'm not the most articulate person in the world, if you haven't noticed. So sometimes putting these things into words is difficult for me. Or, like, putting it into words that make sense becomes difficult for me. But I also think that, you know, well, okay, here's the kind of the crux of what I was trying to get at. It shouldn't be so much about physical attractiveness. It should be about how your personalities mesh together, and what you truly want. Like, even if it's just material, or like what you want in terms of, like, your job, etc. Doesn't matter. As long as it's what you want, it's good, and it's not hurting anybody else. But anyway, that's gonna be it for this episode. I hope you all did enjoy it. If you did, you know what to do. That's me from me, Notorious BLT. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will catch you all next time. Bye bye, folks.